Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have GRIDD, Retroenchanced, a cyberspace-inspired rail shooter from developer Antab Studio. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Getting to the menu, you see that there's two choices for gameplay. There's the arcade, and then once you complete arcade, you'll have access to endless. I haven't gotten quite that far yet, so we'll just be looking at the arcade mode. With that said, let's fire it up.
You are not allowed to enter the system. You will be destroyed.
And thus begins our path. So, in GRIDD, we're basically this ship going and flying down what I can only envision in my mind as like a cyberspace superhighway. We're basically a hacker trying to get into this system, and we're being thrown up these defenses by that mainframe security that's all like master control evil at us. So we start out by avoiding these obstacles. There are also these yellow plates that we can shoot and destroy. And that's basically what we have as far as movement is concerned. We can go and move our ship around, and we have the ability to shoot. Throughout the course of the stages, we'll come across power-ups like the one I just picked up. They're called plugins, appropriately enough to the theme. There are three types of plugins. There's the shield plugin, which basically puts a shield around us so we don't take damage when we get hit. There's also a firepower upgrade, so we can go from firing a single laser to a double laser to a triple laser. And then there's health restore. So one thing I think is super awesome about the way that the health and the score are represented while I'm discussing health, if you'll notice, they're displayed further in the background, but if we happen to get hit, those will pop to the foreground, or there'll also be situations where we'll increase our multiplier, and that will also pop forward as well. It's something that's really neat that they're there, but they're not, that I really like about the aesthetic. That's one of the things that this game stands out the most with, is that cyberspace aesthetic that it has going for it. In my mind, it really reminds me of titles like Tron and Johnny Mnemonic, and that cyberspace look, that computer world that they have here. It really invokes strong nostalgia feelings for someone who went and grew up with that 80s hacker, cyberpunk, cyberspace mentality that the world was going to go and be this awesome virtual, well, computer world like this. And it's great to see. Anyway, getting back to the game a little bit. So as we destroy enemies and obstacles and buildings, whatnot, they'll fly out these yellow shards. As we collect those shards, that's what increases our multiplier. The more of them we collect, the higher our multiplier gets. So here, this is a firewall door. We destroy the 4 plugs, charges, I guess, on the side. Then we can take out the shield, and bam, we have access to our first firewall hacking section. This is important because here is your chance to get additional lives for use in the game. So how do we do that? Well, we get yelled at by the master control first. Then we have to insert a key code. There's this funky triangle thing that's spinning in front of us. Once it stops spinning, we can shoot it to try and hack that particular part of the code. The way we do that, we have to collect all these numbers as they go by. Collect them all, and there's a good chance you'll get your number. Miss them and you'll have a chance again. Then we let it rotate and repeat, rinse and repeat. If we're able to successfully complete it within the time limit, we'll get a 1-up, which is very useful in the progression of the game. Backdoor unlocked, which basically gives us an additional 1-up, as I mentioned. We find ourselves in the next section of the stage now. Master Control here, he's really pissed off. We did get some firepower upgrades, so now we have to deal some damage to him while avoiding his glowy eye beams. Don't shoot us! And bam! Right through us. So even though there are no stages mentioned, events like the firewall hacking and the boss fight there kind of bookend certain sections that are kind of like stages. At least that's the best way I can view them. Ooh, ouch. We have to be careful with these enemies. When they have their silver side pointed towards us, if we shoot them, they'll reflect our shots back at us, and that actually does a ton of damage to you. When their yellow side is facing us, though, we can destroy them. Use a firepower upgrade game. Ask and you shall receive. So the malevolent security device that we're fighting has a very Master Control, like a Mass Effect Collector style voice going on. It really fits that like cyberpunk evil entity vibe. Like, well, I dig it. That mid-boss taken care of. We get to fight our first true boss, System Violation. I'm tired of you. Get out of the system! Direct control. Kind of like the Collector's assuming control. The way that we battle this boss, those 5 orbs around its head are where we have to shoot. We destroy those 5 orbs, and then the tail will become vulnerable. One more. Fortunately, he's fighting me. As we destroy segments of the tail, things get easier for us to maneuver around in. I wasn't able to get them all in one cycle, but we came close. All of his tail destroyed. Now we move on to the second phase of the fight. Here's our evil Master Control. Assuming control. For this phase of the fight, there'll be 5 orbs around the head that we have to shoot when they go to yellow. So we have to be careful not to shoot them otherwise the shots will be reflected back at us and deal massive damage if we get hit. Same with this laser, of course. We do not want to get hit by that. Almost. And done. And that's basically the first major segment of the game. It'll keep on progressing, we'll continue along the highway, and then even get to what's kind of like this deserted plain, almost? Hard to describe what it's like. In this section we'll just shoot blocks, get tons of multiplier. That's a good time to start wrapping up the video, I think. So what are my thoughts on GRIDD Retroenchanced? I really like the title. The plus flavors definitely include the visuals. That 80s inspired hacker cyberspace that's going on here just really, really itches that inner geek nerd from my childhood. Another thing I really like about the game is the way that the scoring is done, both the collecting of the multipliers and what the score actually represents. What we're collecting is data throughout the course, and that's what our score represents. So when you actually game over, you get the score presented to you in like how many kilobytes of data you were able to hack. And that's a really neat little bit of theming that I enjoy. As far as minus flavors, I only have a couple really. For one thing, I wish you could turn off the film grain effect that's going on the screen itself. I like I love the visual aesthetic of the game, so I wish I could go and turn off that one part that I wasn't a fan of. And also, there are times where the camera just makes things hard to use. One thing I kept on forgetting to mention throughout the course of the game is as you get hit, if you happen to have shield upgrades, you'll lose the upgrades as you take damage, and also, of course, you'll lose your multiplier. Something to keep in mind. Anyway, that's GRIDD Retroenchanced, served up for your enjoyment. If you like rail shooters and are a fan of old school titles like Johnny Mnemonic and Tron, I definitely recommend giving this one a try. It's available on Steam. I'll include the link in the description below. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me for Shoot 'em Up Saturday this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. You are going too far. Stop now!